G'day everyone, welcome to, pardon me, Tuesday's session of UK Open, and my apologies for the late start. A little bit of a technical issue on both Ash's end and my end. Okay, hopefully that's now rectified, what looks to be rectified my end. Hopefully it has indeed fixed itself in London town. Righto, what have we got coming up, guys? That's not what we wanted to see. Let me go somewhere else. What do we want to see? We want to see the Forex Factory. That's what we want to see. So let's drag that on board and see what's upcoming for the day. Red News events. First one's already over and done about 5.5 hours ago when we got the inflation expectations quarter on quarter out of New Zealand, and that was bang on previous. There was no forecast, so one would consider that to be a neutral stance on that currency pair. We've got later coming up in about 5.5 hours from now, in 5.5, the first of the heavyweights, I suppose, for today. We've got Governor Carney speaking, the Bank of England governor, of course. He's going to talk about the economic outlook and global trade tensions. Interesting. That could be quite an interesting speech to listen to. And later on, we've got the chief of the Fed, Jerome Powell, speaking. What's he doing? He's talking to whom? The Hope Enterprise Corporation Rural Policy Forum in Mississippi. Audience questions expected. Could be a topsy-turvy one, as Jerome Powell delivers a speech entitled Economic Development in High Poverty Rural Communities. Okay, so that's probably the two headline acts of the day. The two heavyweights having a little bit of a chat. What's the market been doing? I've been away from it, I must admit. I'm catching up as I look at these to see exactly.
I'm in with you, mate.
Okay, hey, mate, how are you?
Oh, yeah, not bad. I'm not sure why. Yeah, it may crash again. I think it's because I'm having to open Internet Explorer and Google, which I've done in the past, but it doesn't like it today. Every now and again, it does seem to have a problem with it, and it's not seem to like it. Doesn't like it today.
Oh, I'm just having a look here, and all I can see is green on screen. What's going on? That seems to be a little bit of a conflict here, where we've got Euro, Pound, Aussie, and Kiwi pulling back a little from the dollar strength, but we're still seeing dollar strength against the yen and the Swissy. What's going on, mate? I haven't been in front of the place, and really not too.
Well, the main headline
what the market sentiment is.
Yeah, the main headline that seems to be there's a deal reached to avert the shutdown. So I'm not sure exactly what the deal is as yet, but they've been meeting in Washington, and they've had a deal. They've got a deal, so that might account for some of this dollar strength. See the market as
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested against the euro. Is that the euro dollar you got there? Is it?
I'll go to my chart of euro dollar, which is that a one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the daily chart.
Oh, let me see the daily. Yeah, because I've got there's a trend line. You see the very, very lowest point. My goodness. Yeah. So he's breaking. We're out of there, right?
We are. There's still some slim hope with these two, but it looks, for all intents and purposes, as though this is on a downward spiral and may go deep. It's pretty obvious that the last, well, what if we go back in time a little bit?
I mean, I was calling the hold yesterday, but that's not going to. That doesn't look like it's going to happen now, does it?
Yeah, look, it doesn't, but I'd definitely be expecting a retracement day on all the majors anyway. That's what I'd be expecting. I wouldn't want to be jumping in short right now. I can assure you of that. But whether it's timely enough to find a retracement leg here is another story. I guess we just have to analyse the chart and see what the chart's telling me.
Where does that trend line right at the bottom? You see the, you know, when you had that
On the daily
that
chart?
previous view there. Yeah. Oh, maybe it was the oh, maybe it was a different chart actually.
Weekly?
Oh no, it
Let's have
is.
a weekly
No, it is that one. Was it the weekly?
It is that one.
Oh no, it is that one. No, the weekly. Yeah. What is that? You see the very lowest point on that weekly chart there, and then you got kind of
Here.
3 higher lows. Yeah. Then you got another couple of 2 higher lows from there. What does that drag up to? Is that obviously that's way beyond? But I just wonder whether it's
Same line. Exactly the same line.
okay. All right.
Perfect.
Interesting. All right. So maybe a bounce point coming up. Then do you think? No, I was actually thinking right from the very, very low, taking it to the other
Okay.
two. The other two, yeah.
Taking it up here.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
yeah,
yeah.
that's quite steep, isn't it?
Way. There's that. I think we actually saw that
Yeah,
when it
that's a bit
happened,
creative.
that big retest, but that's a fair way from the market right now, to be
Mm.
fair. And look, this appears to be the last bastion, to be fair. I guess you can count that low, but if this goes and perhaps we do get a retest of that break today, and the break we're talking about is twofold, or that I'm talking about, well, probably threefold actually. It's the bottom of the range that I've got depicted as the range, which is broken. It's the 113 exact figure, which is here. So yes, I'd be definitely expecting a retest here. But trading right now against that momentum is a tough thing to do unless you've got something that really suits you in
Oh,
terms
yeah.
of let's say a reversal pattern of some kind. It's going to be very, very tough just to say, okay, this is the bottom, let's go. That's that's probably a rough edge of pineapple you're looking at there. If I look at this chart right now, I'm thinking, okay, well, there's our little retracement. Is that going to be big enough to the daily pivot? My answer to that would be no. I'd like to see it come back to 113 or the trend line or even the bottom of the range. So there's maybe a little bit of room left here, but gee whiz, it's very tight trying to trade it. I would have thought. What's the 30-minute telling me?
Yeah.
Little tweezer bottom, little higher low,
It
another
seems
little higher low.
the Italian problem's a lot bigger than I thought. Interestingly, the euro is strengthening against the pound, however.
Well, it's more dollars. I think it's more dollar strength than anything. I mean, the Aussie's come down to support, hasn't broken it yet. The pound hasn't quite got there, but it's broken the monthly pivot quite strongly. And you're telling me that euro pound's on the rise, yeah?
Just about. It's just eking out some gains, yeah.
Gee, that's a messy chart too. Wow. So what happened on
I mean, I was looking at
Monday? What happened on Thursday to do this? Euro.
What was Thursday?
Euro must have crashed on Thursday.
That may have been
Thursday
pound
there.
strength. No? Oh, it was. Do you know what that was? That was Mark
Yeah,
Carney's interest rate decision and announcements and
the statement.
press conference.
That's it there. It didn't last long, did it?
Yeah. No.
Bang. Knocked on. Oh, because they got shocking figures yesterday, didn't they? The GDP figures were horrible.
Yes, they did. They did. And interestingly, Euro pound hasn't really gone anywhere, even from that. Which is kind of suggesting that
the pound's stronger than the euro.
Yeah, if it can't even kind of catch a bid off the back of such poor figures. We were discussing this in the show yesterday, but the thing is,
there's nothing good there, is there?
The pound's no, I mean the pound strength is all about confidence. In my view, we did have a disagreement on what was going to move the pound, but in my view, this is going to be about confidence, and it's going to be about whether they can get the a Brexit deal through, because businesses will start to invest, fairly soon. I mean, it's not it was a pretty poor number, but but the numbers right now are taking a backseat. I mean, that in a regular environment would have caused the pound probably to be a lot weaker than it was. Yeah, but we're back to that again. So
the same old chestnut. So
I'm just trying to.
No real developments on that since last week.
No, I mean Theresa May has been meeting Jeremy Corbyn, and there's some back and forth and hyperbole on that again, and it doesn't really kind of give us too much in the way of real meat on the bone to try and ascertain what's going on. But she, let me read you the Theresa May, because today there was meant to be something. So Theresa May hopes to convince the House of Commons on Tuesday, which is obviously today, to give her another fortnight's grace to keep pushing for changes to the Irish backstop, despite the insistence of Michel Barnier that it is Britain that must compromise. With 45 days to go until Britain is due to, by law, to leave the EU with or without a deal, the Prime Minister will address MPs about the progress in the Brexit talks. Number 10 announced on Monday. She is unlikely to signal any shift towards a closer future relationship with the EU after writing to Jeremy Corbyn to underline her continued objections to a customs union, which kind of puts my my Norway prediction under a little bit of pressure. And instead, she will focus on the backstop. She says, "We are absolutely clear on this. We are not considering Jeremy Corbyn's customs proposal. We are not considering any proposals to remain in the customs union. We must have our own independent trade policy," May's spokesman said on Monday. May will stress her continued focus on the backstop, but if the EU chief negotiator insisted on Monday, there was no question of Brussels giving in to Downing Street's demands. Well, I mean, there's a lot more of this report, which I don't know whether there's going to be, too much other meat on the bones. This one paragraph might be of interest. Yvette Cooper and Nick Bowles, two senior backbenchers who amended against No Deal, failed to gain majority support last month, have not yet made a final decision about whether to table a reworked version or wait until the 27th of February. Guardian understands they will have been working on a revised version of their bill to extend Article 50, which would then have to be tabled by mid-March to have a chance of being passed before the exit. So that's pretty much pretty much where we are. And Jeremy Corbyn continues to refuse to take this to the people, and because of that, his ratings are diminishing quite significantly. I think he's well out of his depth now, Jeremy Corbyn, and this is the thing I think about any of these fly-by-night politicians in a way. It's no different to any successful team, whether it be sport or politics or business. It's kind of easy when things are going well, when you can kind of ride on the wave of goodwill and good feeling. But as soon as things get hard, this is when you really see what somebody's made of. And Theresa May obviously is drawing us very, very close to that 29th of March exit, which means that Jeremy Corbyn's also under pressure to try and put forward really what he thinks about the Brexit negotiations and the EU. And he hasn't really done that. He's been very, in some respects, it seemed clever by keeping quiet. But that time is running low, and I think he is now starting to really show that he's pretty fuzzy about the whole thing. And it's just, we don't want fuzzy leadership. I want people to make a decision. I just want, same as business really, I want somebody to come forward and say, this is what is happening, by hook or by crook, but good or for bad, this is what is happening. Which is why Margaret Thatcher was so popular amongst kind of moderates in a way, is that she was absolute. When she said something was going to happen, she would try and see it through. And I'd say the same thing about Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump's appeal comes from the fact that he holds by his word, for good or for bad.
When the going gets tough, mate, you know what they say?
This is the thing. And Jeremy Corbyn is showing incredible weakness. So I don't think we are really looking towards the Norway deal that I was predicting at this stage.
Well, we're also not looking at the big Euro rally that I was looking at either. That's for sure. I've been looking at a rally since here, and nothing's happening. It just keeps going.
Yeah, which is problematic, isn't it? I mean, the thing with the euro is that they've got the problems with Italy, and they still have that hangover with the problems with Italy. So I don't know whether that might be playing somewhat of a part.
Yeah, well,
This new liquidity indicator.
Every little bit plays a part. There's no doubt about that. But gee, how much more can I take? I'm very pleased I haven't entered the market, I've got to say. But you know, well, it's impossible to enter the market. It just keeps going. It's falling. It's like what do you call it? Waterfall. So yeah, there's been no opportunity to go long. That's for sure. Again, you know, I don't give up that easily. So I can definitely see this level here. All I would need to see really, I suppose, on the daily chart is for us to get back above these levels and then retest them, of course. And I'll be looking for exactly that on the 4-hour chart and the 30-minute chart. If it sets up perfectly, then you know I'll probably put a small trade in the market. But until I've got something that's absolutely concrete, no thanks. It's just trying to swim against the tide, and the tide
Has the euro broken the 1.126? Well, no, 67. Is it broken 1.1267? I'm going to look at that.
That's that level there, is it? Hang on a second, I'll pull it up. Well, I can't read it. So yeah, that's 1.266. This level here. So that's the level you're talking about.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Now I've got a trade count here, and a trade count is like a liquidity monitor, and it looks like that's the most liquid area. That's an incredibly liquid area.
I see. Okay, haven't heard of that one.
And this is from Goldman Sachs. I've just been fortunate that that I've been given this. There's another liquidity indicator which suggests the dollar yen is 110.50 is its most liquid area.
Dollar yen. Where have I got dollar yen? Well, a bit has happened since. I think I can actually get rid of that, to be fair. Yeah. 110.50?
Yes.
Pretty much where we are, yep.
Yeah, that seems to be also an area, the area of contention.
As both support and resistance, or we're looking for
well, this is the thing. You know, when I look at this, it's kind of hard to read because it's listed as paid and given. So I'm presuming the paid are the bulls and the given are the bears. Interestingly, that 112 that I was talking about, the 112.67 on the euro, the paid are in charge of that. But with the yen, 110.50 is where the givens. Is that right? Yeah, it looks like that's where the givens are in charge. So the sellers seem to be quite happy with that level as a point to try and sell at.
Okay, so we're looking for resistance there. Well, let's see if we can match that up and find a confluence of some kind. Let's go to the daily. Where's the level? 110.50.
Yeah, 110.50. It's actually 110.49, but I'll sort of round it up to 50.
Let me make it stand out a bit.
Yeah, you know what? It's the weekly that seems to be the key area with that.
110.49?
Yeah.
There it is, that level there. And we are being on it, and yes, it does have form.
So
yeah,
that is suggesting.
You're suggesting resistance, but
Yeah,
we're having a crack at it this week. That's for sure.
we are having a crack at it. Now I don't know how reliable this tool is, or even what it means at this stage. This is a new indicator that a friend of mine who works for one of the big banks sent me. Now I was just going to put on the 200-day moving average as well. Let's do it in green. Yeah, it's not far from the 200 moving average, is it?
Don't know. I don't use them.
No, I don't actually either. The 200 moving average is sitting at 111, which, as it's a round number, I would suggest that 111 looks like a really good point to look for those selling opportunities.
What colour do we use for that? Blue or something?
I think most people use green, but
Blue will do.
blue will do. I've used yellow, so yeah.
Well, we have found a bit of a confluence, the top of the channel and here, and probably last month's monthly pivot.
Yeah, yeah.
So we start looking for shorts in that area, maybe.
I think we do. Yeah, I mean, if we are to trust the this liquidity monitor, I'll quickly show you the FTSE, unless you've got anything specific. So the FTSE today, I'm still kind of bearish on the FTSE. I don't particularly like that news because of it could. I will have a look at a little bit further into this and see what, if I can unscramble what it means. But let me just show you the FTSE.
Jawohl.
There we go. Yeah, I'm still bearish the FTSE, but I don't really have. I'll bring this to a daily chart.
Have you managed to beat it on the way up or not? Pardon me.
Do you know what? I took a short here. And as it came down, I saw some price action in this area that I didn't particularly like, so I took my short off, making about 2%, which is decent. But I was really looking for a significant dip down to at least this area here. So we haven't yet played out my my price action target. That's one area that the very highest point I'd be happy to settle for would be around here. So we haven't really taken that yet. So that would suggest that we would see at least this low retested, and then possibly bouncing off a level there. So I think we are still looking for some bearish price action. Yesterday's bar was this bar here, which doesn't really tell us a whole bunch. You know, that kind of this spinning top here. So it's not at a bad level. I wouldn't mind trying to take a trade at this level, but I'm wondering whether that's the news of the shutdown in the US may well keep this one afloat for the day. Realistically, I was looking for the FTSE to be probably fairly bullish for a couple of days. Looks like we're in this channel here, so this might reach the top of the channel. And I was looking for the FTSE to be bullish for a couple of days, and then looking for Wednesday for a dip. Now, Julian said Thursday might be a better day because seasonality suggests that we get the first 3 days of this week pushing to the upside, and then we can start looking for downside. So that could be taken into account. But as I say, I'm still short. I closed my shorts here in this area when I was looking at this on a 15-minute chart down here. I saw the
pretty good.
Yeah, it did dip a little further. I saw this kind of break and a potential for a higher low down here on the 15, and I got a little bit spooked. And it did move a little bit higher, but to be fair, even if I'd let it dip, then my next point of call would have been to take it off here. So I didn't actually lose out too much. I lost about 10 pips on the way down. But my entry was around about the 7-1 mark. So you know there was that to be made out of it, and so I didn't give up too much. But I was looking for a bounce in the area. But as I say, I thought it was going to bounce at this point. When I was looking at the hourly charts, there was the reason was that I was looking at the There's just a little level along here. There's just a little level along here that I thought maybe it would hold at. Actually, it wasn't that one I was looking at, because mine was slightly higher. I don't think I went all the way back. I think I was looking along there. Yeah, I think I was looking along there at the time. So it was looking pretty good. So the FTSE's taken off anyway this morning. So looking for some further positivity. Now, I haven't got a problem with any of this. I am bearish the FTSE, but I've got to really think of my reasons to go short here. And as I say, that government shutdown sorting itself out doesn't really kind of fill me with too much confidence that the timing is right. So I am not that keen on this market. This is way too high for me to try and get in, because it's going to have to break out here. Now, I don't mind a breakout, and I don't mind missing a breakout, even though the breakout would actually return some pretty decent profit. I'm quite happy to let this one break out and then see if there's a short, maybe at one of these high levels, or possibly even this point of resistance here, and then see if we get the dip. And it's purely because when I look at the weekly chart, I look at this weekly chart and I see that the potential for an inverted head and shoulders, and that's what I'm after. I'm just after it, you know, and it's not that I'm obsessing about getting a pattern that I'm after, but looks to me like a pretty clean reversal pattern here. So I'd want it to come down and then come back up again. And I've been drawing this line for the last few days. This is the line that I want it to kind of come back to. Don't mind where that shoulder comes in, but I'm after a shoulder and a formation of a shoulder, and then look for the move to the upside, because price action has been fairly bullish considering the situation out in the world at the minute. Could even come all the way up to here before taking a dip, but I'm just after seeing, you know, just waiting to see whether we do actually get some sort of dip, and then looking for the longs. But until I get that dip, then I'm not really that interested in going long the market. If I'd gotten down here, that'd be a completely different story. But I'd like to I'd like to see that weakness just come into play. The other thing about this is that last week on Friday, the market did start to push to the downside right towards the end of the week. So this was Friday's bar here. Now, when I see Friday's bar fail to give me that evening star, that puts me already on red alert. And this is why when I saw the first high low on the 15, I wasn't too keen to stay in it and expected the bounce. So the bounce has come. And now the picture kind of probably needs to unfold by giving me something of a reversal bar now up here. That this spinning top is too difficult. You know, that the conventional way to trade the spinning top would be at the low, but I don't really want to do that. What I'm after is information here that the market is weakening. This spinning top here doesn't really give it to me. It just gives me some potential indecision. This bar doesn't give it to me because it doesn't cut deep enough into the bullish bar. Obviously, this bar is the reverse of that. This bar doesn't tell me anything. So I'm looking for a bar just to give me some direction. You know, when I consider what considers a waterfall or a movement in the market, we see this. You know, that's an Actions to Wealth high test bar. It waterfalls down. We see this hammer down here, and all of a sudden the market starts to pick up. So looking at information, I do need to see something which actually does look like some sort of bearish pattern. Even here, we have something that looks like a train tracks reversal. You know, if we consider this bar being similar to this bar, the price action of this bar almost tells me the same thing as this bar, in as much that it wasn't able to really give us too much bullish price action. So looking for the break at the lows would have been an option there. Again, this bar as well tells us that there is some problems in the area. This bar tells us there could be problems, and as soon as this one starts to come in, then stops at the lows would again be fine. But I'm looking just for some information here which suggests that there is some longer term weakness, and at this stage it's just not clear. And then again, go back to the weekly chart. Last week didn't end suggesting that the downside would be necessarily that prevalent this week. So it needs to unfold. So what I'm now looking for is just a bit of detail. You know, can the price break through this point? And again, let's come back to these pivots. So the longer term timeframes don't tell me enough at this stage. But what I'm aware of is that the longer term timeframes will form after the shorter term timeframes have given me the bearish price action. So I'll be happy for this one because this would take out the daily pivot. No, it wouldn't take out the weekly pivot. But what I could be after is a breakdown and a bounce off that weekly pivot. And then a break back up to give us a retest, and then we can look for the short, maybe you know, somewhere around about this point here. So I'm looking for about 70-70 on the futures. You know, that would be a pattern that I'd be happy to trade. So if that unfolds, then I will take it. Until it does unfold, then I'll anticipate the daily pivot holding up as a level of support. So I won't just take it if it pokes its head through there. You know, I'd like to see a break and a back test, and then start to look for the shorts.
Yeah, I can see some similarities in these charts, especially revolving around the pivots and the need for either long before short or short before long. And I'm in pretty much the same boat. You want to take a look around the place?
Yes, have a look, mate. Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the hometown currency pair. And that, of course, would be the Aussie US dollar. And see what we've got. Well, the good part about a few of these charts is it's very, very clear what I need to do. What isn't so clear is how that's going to happen yet, for the same reasons, as you. I've just got to wait for a few more things to unfold before it becomes completely clear. But what is clear is that we're very, very near to the bottom of this range that we've been sitting in since September. And another thing that's very, very clear is that we've broken the monthly pivot, and now we're looking to retest that. Probably have already done that on the smaller time frames, but on this, the daily chart, well, I suppose we've done it on the daily chart as well and rejected that. That kind of tells me, pardon me, that if this rejection is not strong enough, then we might see price action on the other side of that. If, however, it is as it would appear, very, very strong, then we're probably going to see these lows taken out and maybe even retested. So that's kind of the signal pattern that I'm looking for. I want to know if this is going to hold this level here, which is around about 70.40, so 0.7040. Or if the monthly pivot is going to fail as support and we actually get back above it. So this area is very, very crucial right now to me. Let me see if I can find something that will tell me which of those two scenarios it will be and how we will determine that. Well, this line here is going to be very, very effective for that purpose. Reason is that if we do get above the monthly pivot, that will be a confluence area broken. And if that's the case, I'd be expecting upside, probably first stop weekly pivot. And if it's going to reverse, then I'll be looking up here somewhere. So there's definitely a possibility there. There's some, I guess, on the 4-hour chart suggesting that we've got a double bottom here. There's certainly a bullish engulfing bar. So what I'd really like to see right now is price get up to the monthly pivot, get up to that confluence area, and then pull away from it and tell me what's going to happen next, or break it and retest one of the two. Can we play that trade to that area is really the question I'm left with today. And if not, then I don't have a trade. So let's see if there is the opportunity for that. The 30-minute chart, a little bit of a double rejection of whatever level that is. 70.87. Is it significant? A little bit of reaction here, but I think the level's probably higher. Getting in here is problematic. However, yes, we've got a base that's formed, no question. We've got a higher low that's formed. Maybe if you were thinking about trading this long, that would bring the candle that you would trade. We're way late for that, of course. How do we do this, guys? Well, we have to use some lines, I suppose. We'll start with resistance. There's an opportunity there. Should we, let's say, close in this vicinity and then pull back and retest that line, that might get me interested in a long, but I'd much prefer to play it, or always prefer to play a long off support rather than resistance. So the support area is probably in here. There's probably an argument for it up here as well. I'll try that. Might be a little bit sharp for me though. That's not a low, so I'll be cutting that candle anyway. It's not ideal. I'll keep it there just for reference because it is at a nice confluence area. As you can see, resistance here, support or resistance here. Maybe we do find something there, but definitely the preference would be if this level broke, then we got back above it and retested it, then go long. Far better price down here than it would be anywhere in this area. But I'll certainly be keeping my eye on that. And if we do get a nice little retest of that trend line, I may well look to trade that long to this vicinity here. So the Aussie is clear as to what I need to see. It's just a matter of whether it sets up. Of course, that's nothing unusual there. Okay, so the cable, and look, very, very similar story, of course. We've got a very clear double bottom here. We've got support confluence in the bottom of that channel. That you can see doesn't look that great on the daily chart. It's more on a 4-hour chart that looks reasonable. So let's go there. Ready, set, go. Thank you. We've cleared this pivotal area, if you like, or pivot area. And we've come below all of that. We're now testing the back side of this broken support trend line and the daily pivot. So there's your confluence there. Would I want to trade short from here? No. Why? Because of that level, I suppose. That level right there. It's not hellishly strong, but it's definitely got a little bit of action, and particularly recently it has, and it's had a confluence area. So really, the trade for me today is not short. But gee whiz, how tough is it to go long? If I get above this confluence area, daily pivot and support trend line, and then retest that, I'd be tempted to go long based on the bottom of the channel and seeking the top of the channel again and a false break of this trend line. I don't see that happening on the 4-hour charts because we'll probably get too close to the monthly pivot to trade it. So by the time this bulls its way through here and then retraces, we're probably looking at an entry in this vicinity somewhere. So I'd much prefer to go down a couple of time frames and hit the 30-minute chart where we now see this double bottom on that level that I've just put on the chart. We've got a higher low here, a significant higher low for mine. Of course, impossible to trade into the daily pivot. So I'd much rather see this area cleared and then retested from above. Look for the long at that point. So really tough right now to be thinking long, but yeah, I'm seeing that. And maybe we don't even get an opportunity. That's going to be tricky. What's the hourly chart telling me? Not much different, to be fair. Double bottom, higher low, but we're at this resistance area, which is a confluence area with trend line broken, yes, and now retested. So if you look at that from the reverse angle, if you like, or the alternate way of thinking, what we've actually got is a break of support and a retest of support at a confluence area. So there'll be people looking to trade that bounce off this daily pivot here and continue the short cycle. That's the tough part. And again, this will be the area that tells me whether that is actually a resistance level or if it's going to be a support level. And that's what I'll be looking for. So if it becomes resistance or continues to be resistance, then this should fall and I won't be trading it. If, however, we get above this area and then retest it from above, if I can find a little entry here on a small time frame on, say, a 15, 20 pip risk or something like that, say something down there, then I can trade it up to here and get profit off the table before it goes to the top here. That's exactly what I'll be looking to do. So looking for price to get up here, retest the level, and then look to go long there with taking profit before the monthly pivot. That is cable. Now, I'm completely ignoring fundamentals here. I'm just talking technicals and nothing else. So that's what I'll be looking for from a technical point of view. The good ship euro. Well, again, I've been looking to trade this long for the longest time, it would appear. Let's say here, since here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're into now a 6th day of trading, and there's just no opportunity to do so. This is absolutely in fair income in catching a falling knife territory. But that said, we are at the support level. We've broken the support trend line. We've broken the 113 figure, and we've left the weekly and the monthly pivots behind. That's kind of telling me that, well, there's a few things telling me that this is oversold. Those two pivots being a long way from price is one of those. And I generally like to measure the distance between the daily pivot and the weekly pivot to see if that's what I call an acceptable gap. Look, it is at this point, to be fair. So it's not screaming at me that the market has to turn around here. I'd much prefer to see on euro dollar 120 pips, something like that, before I started to think, well, this gap's too wide. I definitely can't trade it short, can only trade it long. I think I'm of that opinion anyway, until this level goes, and maybe even this level goes. But I'm screaming for pullback, and if I get the opportunity to trade it, I will. But I don't see anything right now on the daily chart that's enticing me in that direction. 4-hour candles, once again, will tell the story, and the story for me is going to be there's 1, 2, 3 levels of potential resistance here on the way back. Daily pivot's the first, 113's the second, and the backside of the trend line is the third. If all of those were to be taken out by the bulls, and then 1, 2, or even 3 of them retested by the bears, then you will definitely see me place a long order here and look for this level in the first instance, this level in the second, and yeah, I'll leave something open just in case the market's remembered that I'm wanting it to go up here somewhere, just in case. But it's certainly not looking good for the euro at the moment. I'd have to say that. And again, if you're trend trading, you'd be on very good terms with yourself, and you'd be looking for these levels to become resistance rather than what I'm looking for them to become support from the top side. So no shorts on the euro, but definitely swimming against the tide, looking for longs as well. Not sure why I've got Aussie yen on my chart. Maybe I saw something this morning when I did the morning show that enticed me into putting it on my chart. Yeah, retracement, I suppose, weekly pivot resistance. But it's got the tendency now, I think, to probably bobble in here somewhere. I'll have a good look at this in a little bit whilst I'm off air, but I'm not really seeing anything there that's shouting at me, trade me. If I put in a couple of trend lines, maybe that gives me something. Yeah, look, there's a confluence here, but later. There's also potentially a confluence going to happen up there at the same spot. So yeah, it's looking. Maybe that's why I've got it there. It's looking pretty fine in this area, but we've got a lot of water to go under the bridge before we get there. So I think I'll leave that one alone. Euro Aussie, I was looking at this morning. How's that going? Probably because we're at the top of the range. Okay, let's go to the 4-hour chart and expand on that a little bit.
I'll have a look as well.
Range is a bit messy now. It's been broken substantially too many times, I think. Yeah, I don't think I'm that fussed with it, to be fair, Ash.
Well, the Euro Aussie.
Yeah, I think I was comparing them. Euro at support, potential bounce. Aussie, yeah, at resistance, maybe potential bounce. Maybe that's why I don't know. I just had a good look at it and thought maybe that's one for later. At the moment, I'm not seeing later as being terribly enticing, to be fair. Let me just zoom in on this a little bit and see if I can find something that I do like. I generally have a liking for a reason, but for the life of me, I'm not so. Yes, we're at the pivots, and yes, we're back inside that range. But do I really trust that range anymore? I don't think so. Don't like
I've got one that's it'd be great for you to have a look at when you're ready.
Yep. All right. That arrow is pointing like Geronimo's spear, isn't it? Saying, "Go down, boy, go down." No, no, I don't think I've got anything, mate. Let's go to what you've got.
Well, I was just going to ask, did we do the Euro Yen?
No, I skipped it.
Okay, so I just want to bring the Euro Yen in.
There was something on that too. Yes, you go.
Just in here, just it is a daily wave rider, and I'm presume that there probably are some wave rider traders out there. So let's just bring this into play here.
What's a daily wave rider trade?
Yeah, it looks to me like a daily wave rider trade. Certainly, we're missing the bar, but I think this could be something that that people could put on a watch list, and I think it might be we may find that we can also trade off our own strategies as well. So let me just do this.
I'm assuming their super trend would be short here.
Yes. So for any daily wave rider, yeah, super trend is red here. We have seen the weekly pivot stepping down, then stepping up. Now this is a really I like these when the price action has been coming against us, and then we do then get a step down. So that does suggest that we are on alert this week. With a daily wave with the weekly pivot stepping down. Now we haven't got a bar. You couldn't really call this a high test bar because it hasn't really tested a high per se. You could probably look to enter this at the short end with the strategy. You could put an entry at the low and a stop at the high just above the weekly pivot there. So that's one possible. I think I'd personally prefer to see something clearer. Maybe one more bar if it starts to shove down. So let's see what the is, and then so we'll bring in the shorter term timeframes here. There would be a potential sling that might feed into us for here. So let's go with a clean chart. Bring in the.
I'm just going to go short.
Oh, fine. Okay. Well, that still could be relevant and valid. So it looks like this is the trend line. Let's double check the low there. It might well be down here. Actually, looks better.
What time frame are you on, mate?
So that looks to me like we have got giving us a measured move of this point down here. So for argument's sake, that has actually come back. That broke out about there, so it's a little bit lower to this point here. So that would be our target down there. Looking for about 120, 150-ish. So at 124.60 right now. Now, what I'd want to see on this, I think there's enough information here that this would be a valid short here. Prices below the weekly pivot. 4 hour looks good. Just double check the hourly. So the hourly, when we look at the hourly setup for this, and this is, I suppose, trying to get into the earlier. Now there are obviously the 4-hour wave rider as well, and the hourly wave rider. I think there's an hourly wave rider, but I'm not so clued up on those particular strategies. But the daily wave rider, because we teach it as part of IFP, then I'm very aware of this strategy. So I'd want to see a break of this level to the level. And then look for the shorts on that. Now, I'm not sure, is there a weekly or daily pivot there? Let me double check the 1 hour with some pivots. Yeah, that looks pretty good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That looks pretty good. So, you know, anybody that's interested in daily wave riders, then a break of the daily pivot and a back test of the daily pivot. So you'd want to see something like this. To me, looks like a potential for a trade. No, I would suggest that we would have to have this probably bounce at the same level here. So bouncing off this level of support to give us that return. That's what I would I'd want to anticipate. So coming back into this area and then going short. So I think a potential entry price is probably going to be around the daily pivot after it's broken and back tested it. So somewhere around about the 124.50 would be an entry point around here. And aiming for 121.50, so looking for about 300 pips with a stop at the highs. I would take it. I mean, that's still a nice 6-to-1 with profit taken halfway down, makes it a 3-to-1 and some. So I quite like the look of that. But interested to know your opinion whether that would be a slingshot.
Yeah, look,
contrarian.
I'll definitely give you a contrarian view, and that would look like this. Let me pinch the screen.
Yep.
Okay. All right, should have it now. Daily chart for me is not really conclusive. I can see an argument for both here. Definitely support off the trend line, hitting the pivots. I can definitely see support and resistance here. So either way for me on that chart. Yes, I can see this bar here as a rejection. I can see this bar here as a rejection. That bar there really is the key if you are thinking short for mine, the one you've mentioned before on the daily chart. So what will be important here is if that holds up. So what I'm saying there is if the high of that bar is broken, then I'm a bull. If the low of that bar is broken, then I'm a bear. So the way I look at that then is let's see what we can do in terms of unscrambling that little riddle as to which one it's going to be. And you can see right now that there is complete indecision here between the daily pivot and the weekly pivot. We're just having on, off, on, off, on, off. Importantly, we've got both support and resistance as confluence areas as well. I think I said this when I put this on the chart a while back. So both trend lines are converging, as are the pivots. I'm not sure we're going to get a break here anytime soon. Maybe we're just going to consolidate between the pivots and between these two trend lines. But if we do, I don't see this as a fait accompli in any way, shape, or form. I think this can go either way very easily. The thing that interests me most as a slingshot trader is this scenario where, and I'm looking at the 4-hour chart at the moment, we've had a close above the weekly pivot, which was immediately rejected. We tried again and failed on the 4-hour chart, and we've tried again and failed on the 4-hour chart. Longer, stronger, that's probably more significant than what I'm just about to look at on the hourly chart, which is what we were talking about, where we have had break, hold, break, hold, break, hold. So we've had 3 closes above the weekly pivot, and every single time it's just gone woof, woof, woof. And that's what we're seeing. The other side of that is we've got a double bottom sitting here, tweezer bottom if you like, and a significant higher low. Now, that's what makes this interesting and very, very tricky. Yes, this is an interesting bar, without doubt. And I think where we are on this trend line is looking very, very much like a break or bounce point. But I'm still seeing all of this confluence in here, all of this noise, if you like, with resistance, maybe, support maybe, resistance maybe, but definitely support. So I think we're going into the pointy end of a tube here, and I'm just not sure, mate. I'm really not sure which way that's going to go.
Yeah,
Slingshot
I think
Cat
that's
is telling me they're getting through here for a reason. And then we're getting knocked over for a reason as well. But whilst ever this high is in place, as a higher low, while this low is in place as a higher low, backing up this double bottom, I'm still prepared to give it a chance to break long at this point. As soon as that goes, different story. But yeah. It's not an easy one from my point of view.
No, I think I suppose in a lot of ways it's expressed through the fact that we don't have that daily wave rider entry bar as yet. That is that clean. So maybe a bit more tomorrow than it does today. But in saying that, I think if we do take out that daily pivot and return to the area that I drew out, then I think it would be of interest. I think it could be something of interest.
I agree. It's of interest. If I'm absolutely to the letter of the law of my strategy here, I've got to place a long above this candle.
Let's have a look at that. Sorry.
That's an hourly chart. Let me go to the 30-minute chart, which is where I prefer to trade.
Yeah.
It'll be the same thing. It'll be the same stop and entry, I suspect. I mean, that looks like a massive candle right now. And it is. That's quite interesting. Let me look at that on the hourly chart. Yeah, it's too big for me to trade. But here's the way I look at that from a slingshot point of view. Pardon me. We've got the double bottom. We've got the higher low. And this high here, when it becomes a high, will be a new high. Certainly a new high on the day.
Yeah.
So it's surpassed its previous high. And it's also surpassed yesterday's high. If I'm drawing an absolute technical line through this, I've got 124.872 as this high, and I've got 124.878. So 0.6 of 1 pip, if you like. I think I'd be prepared to call that an equal high. But technically it is a higher high. The market did push through it. It didn't close through it. And that's what makes it really super tricky. But if, by the letter of the law, if this candle had have closed on its current level, then I've really got to put a long here. It doesn't say it'll go long, and that's the tricky part with the slingshot strategy. It's more cause and effect. It's not predicting anything. It's just saying if price goes there, it's going to here. That's all I'm saying. Nothing more than that. I'm not saying price is going there.
Yeah.
Or here or anywhere.
So really, it's about letting the picture unfold a little bit.
Yeah, but that candle's too big to trade, so it's a moot point now. I won't be trading it.
So that's really all I've got, mate. I mean, I don't have too much more than that. I think looking at a few other bits and pieces like oil are always of interest.
Let's do that. I haven't checked on that for ages.
Okay, let's have a look at oil.
What's this channel doing?
And obviously Bitcoin as well. I'm interested in the Bitcoin potential move in Bitcoin, which seems to be holding fire right now.
So has it rallied?
Okay, let me quickly run a little bit of Bitcoin. It hasn't rallied, no, but it is. Oops. It just had a little spring forward. Now, when I look at Bitcoin, I could look at any of these really, but let's look at Bitcoin as the big brother. It had this jump to the upside, which I don't know what caused it. I don't really know what moves Bitcoin, which makes me a little bit more wary about the whole. But I am interested in Bitcoin. So when I look at this on a clean chart, what I would want to see on to want to go long would be this broken up. It seems to be where we are. A nice clean channel, but it might well be. No, it's not. So what we have is like it's almost a falling wedge, and the falling wedge would potentially start to see us picking up a little bit. This would be the measured move of the falling wedge. If it could break somewhere along that line there, so that maybe it back again, but a break of this area would see me interested in Bitcoin. Now, the area that I would certainly be really interested in Bitcoin, and I'd want to be all over it, is the around about the 2000 level. Currently at 3006, so it might be that this is as low as we go. I think if it comes down to this point here, then I'd be interested in. So it's possible that it does dip that little bit further, and if it does, then I think in that point would be of huge interest. But certainly on a short-term basis, on a just something that that would be a potential starting of that area, that falling wedge on the daily chart would be something that I would consider. I'd consider sort of going in light there, and if it did, then like going in again at 2000. But just to make sure that there was nothing missed here, I think trading the falling wedge would be a possibility. That is Bitcoin.
You're keeping your eye on it. You're a bit keen to find an entry, aren't you?
On Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Interesting. But with Bitcoin, we were talking about this on Monday, looking for shares. And what interests me on Bitcoin is NVIDIA, that mines for the chips, I've been told by reliable viewer sources. So if I could get maybe a bit of NVIDIA as a stock trade, then I'd be really interested in looking for Bitcoin as a movement to the upside. Then I'd be more.
It's just the mob that makes silica
investments.
Or produce silica or value.
Is it what mate?
Is that the mob that value add silica? NVIDIA. Who are they? I think I've lost Ash.
Lost Jeff. So well, let's just quickly talk.
I thought I lost.
Quickly talk about WTI.
I don't know who's lost who here.
Are you kind of back again?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I don't know. Is it me or is it you?
Back and forth about getting the odd electronic word coming back at me. Yes, the WCI would need to break through here, so I'd want to see it pop up first. It's got a long way to. If it broke again, same principle, breaking through that point, maybe finding resistance along this area here lower. And obviously we're not saying that price is going to do, but this is exactly what I'd like to see from price. But if that did do that, if that came along that to give us You there, mate?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Yep. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, can you? Okay. Then perhaps everything's been restored. Perhaps. We shall see. You were talking about oil, mate.
Getting on there. Do you know I've got no? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I've got no movement on my. There we go. Okay, my charts are back again. Do you know what? Actually, Bitcoin. Sorry, I was just doing the WTI, but WTI has already moved. That's null and void now. I'll have to do different analysis on. But yeah, the internet's a bit sticky, mind.
Yes, so it would appear. I thought it was me for a bit, but it looks like it might be you. That's an interesting. Do you want me to take charts for a bit and see if you can sort that out? Maybe your screen share is a little bit too much with bandwidth or something. I don't know for the platform. So I'll just briefly go through to see if there's anything I can find. Interestingly, I have found this scenario: trend line break, trend line retest. Looks like it wants to push on. Can't trade this long right now. I do see the beautiful tweezer bottom sitting here. I don't see a significant low, so I'd definitely be looking for this to pull back. Daily pivot would be absolutely perfect. So my bias is still to the downside. This is the Aussie US dollar 30-minute chart I'm looking at. Trading that's a little bit tough, to be fair, given what we've got. A couple of possibilities though, and they're both off these resistance trade lines or trend lines. So I'd like to see this break, hit the high here, come back underneath this trend line, retest it, and then look to trade short. Targets obvious in the daily pivot. If it were to come back off this one, it wouldn't want to go too deep. Looking for a retrace here and then daily pivot. As long as I've got room to trade it, that will be fine. Excuse me 2 secs, guys.
I think I'm with you now.
Oh, he's back. There he is.
Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, cool. Okay, you got my message, did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So
okay, cool.
I'm just taking a quick squeeze through these 30-minute charts to see what's possible. But the more I look at them, the more I'm getting mixed signals. Again, if this was a bearish decisive bar here, I've got reason to trade this long, but it's really tricky because I can't trade into the high of the day. And there's room to take profit, but there's not much room to take profit. So that's one signal I'm getting. The other is, as I said before, the false break back underneath, retest, trade to the daily pivot. That I think is the preferable way to go. And there's an obvious target there. So that would be probably the first possibility. Again, we haven't breached this confluence area, but we've bounced off it. We said that was a distinct possibility. I think this can just oscillate here for a little bit. If it does get back above here and retest, I'll start to get interested long. Again, I can't trade short from here, though. That appears to be the way it wants to go. They haven't taken the lead boots off the euro yet by the look of it, and gravity seems to be taking its course again at this point in time anyway. Retrace back to the daily pivot, bounce off it. Trend traders would be just laughing their heads off at that sort of thing. Not so much for me, but whilst there's no entries, then there's no danger either, I suppose. Again, I'd need to see this get back above these this confluence area and retest it before I got remotely interested in trading it, and I'm not. Aussie yen's a little bit different. We have had a break and retest of the daily pivots. So interesting point here where we are currently sitting on the weekly pivot. So there's a potential confluence here. No close above it, which makes it really, really tough. If this candle were to have breached and closed above, and this candle done exactly the same thing, breached and closed below, I might have got interest in a little speculator there. But frankly, where we are is if there is a channel going up through there, it looks like there is. We're pretty much at the top of that channel. We're at the weekly pivot as well. Let me put that in, I suppose. Yeah, we're not quite to the top, but near enough as damn to me. Or maybe, are we? Let me go a little bit wider. Yeah, that looks a bit more interesting, I suppose. This confluence area or this confluence area, take your pick. I can't see me trading this long here no matter what anyway, unless there's a substantial pullback. So maybe back to here I'd consider it, but at this point in time, there's only shorts in my mind. To trade that, yeah, good luck. On that time frame, I don't see anything. On the 30-minute chart, I don't see much either, I've got to say. Maybe a bit later through here somewhere there might be a little trend line confluence, but not now. It's tough to get interested, to be fair. Pound yen, pardon me, going sideways. This is the weekly pivot effect that we're seeing, banging its head on it, can't get through it, can't get through it, can't get through it, and eventually we've come off it and we found the daily pivot. Trading, top to bottom really, isn't it? That's just top to bottom, but I don't mind that at all. If we consider that to be the top, and if we consider that to be the bottom, maybe there's a little bit more in it than that. Let me see. Yeah, it's kind of messy outside there, but there's something there. Let me bring the channel down. Okay, so that now is presenting as the top of a range. Bang, 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 nothing, 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 nothing. But it's gone too far already to trade it. That's the issue. I guess if this level breaks is the first thing I'd be looking at. So the lows here, the low of the range. Let me put the range in so you can see it, those of you who can't. If we use that there and maybe this area through here, you can see that we're approaching or rapidly approaching another confluence area, bottom of range trend line. So one of two things here: break, take these out, retest them, short down to the bottom of the range, this range being a channel, or false break. So come and test these lows, fail to get through them, back above the trend line in the bottom of the range, retest it from above rather, and trade it long to the top. That's on a much smaller time frame. I'm looking at a 4-hour chart here, of course. So a 30-minute chart, you might look to pick that up. Either way, long or short, but an interesting place. So a good place to trade from is what I'm saying. Euro yen, as Ash and I were talking about before, good place for this to trade from. At this point, that looks like going short with that very, very bearish bar. And that's, entirely possible off the weekly pivot. So is, in my mind, the possibility that we're going to break to the high side. But combine both of those, I think is what the result will be. And the result will be that we're going to hang around in here for a bit. That's what I'm seeing really off this chart at the moment, with possibilities obviously to break either side. But I'm seeing the consolidation area as the most likely. That's interesting. But the candle's going to be too big, I think. No, it's not. It's only a small chart. Okay. I'm looking at a double cross here, Ash, but can I trade it is the question. What have we got exactly? Okay, we look at the most obvious things, and That's probably the most obvious to me. So we're looking at more support than resistance at this point. I would think, just based on that, we're above the pivots here. We're above the bottom of the channel, and we're above this level here as well, which is both support and resistance. So I'm a little bit bullish this, if I'm completely honest. Let me see what I can do with it. From a slingshot trading point of view, nothing right there on the 4-hour chart. What's 30 telling me? It's telling me if this candle's not serious enough, then this will probably break to the short side if it goes down beyond these pivots. But the pivots are holding up, and that's the incredibly important thing. A line through here. Again, we're in this situation where we've got pivots very close together. We've got trend lines converging on each other, and that spells consolidation to me. So tough, really tough to be trading breakouts here, and I'm not that keen. But I think I could rattle on and not find anything here forever, to be fair. And I kind of knew that would be the case, such has been the strength of these moves, or the fact that we're going into consolidation. That one was, no, we looked at that before, didn't we? Let me just go to the 30-minute chart and we'll make one last call on that. Weekly pivot holding up, bounced off the resistance trend line once, twice. I'd like to see it up here somewhere again. And if we got it to there, I wouldn't mind trading a little break here. It's tried and tried. It's getting closer and closer, but it's still not there. And we do have a weekly pivot to bounce off. It's not strong, though. Really, I'm not seeing anything that's strong. There's nothing jumping out of its skin and telling me to trade, to be fair. So, again, maybe the consolidation is going to be the way to go. Mate, I'm just getting a little bit boring, really. There's nothing much to progress with. So I think with about 7 minutes to go in the show, unless you've got something to add, we might as well call it quits. Looks like Ash hasn't made it back anyway. So, guys, that's exactly what we will do. I'm just getting a little bit boring here. There's nothing new to tell. Everything we've said has been said before. So we will call it a day and do it again for you tomorrow, hopefully with some more or some setups rather than today where it's pretty much waiting on the market set up for us. Have a great rest of Tuesday, and we look forward to your company again tomorrow when Ash and I will be back. See you later. Bye-bye for now.